is Alexander Prudhomme from Launchpad Games, and today we're going to talk about Castle Builder. Castle Builder is a 2 to 4 person game set in the medieval times in which each player is trying to build a castle, which is composed of 5 castle sections, and it's a race to be the first person to complete your castle. With that, let's get into the box and see what's in here. This is what the start of a 4-person game would look like. In the center of the table, you have these peasant cards. These are your basic actions in which you'll basically pick them in order to use actions throughout the entire game. We also have noble cards, which are essentially peasant cards, but a little bit more powerful. And you can only win these in an auction with gold at the start of the game. Then you also have science cards, which you can get by using commodities and converting them into research. You can also see here there's this turn tracker. This game is played in 10 turns, and at the end of the 10th turn, whoever has the most castle sections wins, if no one has built a castle at that point. And this turn tracker will move up every time a round ends. In addition, you can see that each player starts off with 3 different buildings, and also they start off with some resources. This beginner town consists of a camp, a shop, and a mint. The camp is what you'll use to gather raw materials, which is this brown token. The shop will help you gather commodities, and the mint will help you gather the gold. So each round, everyone gets 3 actions, and they're going to be made up of either the peasant cards or the noble cards. And like I said before, each of these noble cards will be auctioned off at the beginning of the game. Okay, and after that we'll take turns selecting peasant cards, where everyone gets a chance to pick one, and then at the end of the round you'll play the actions that you've selected. So here's an example round. So whoever has this is called the turn starter. They're the ones who get to have the first auction, and then in addition they're also the ones who get to be the first to pick the peasant cards. So on their turn, now everyone starts off with 2 gold, so let me switch this out real quick. And 6 raw materials. So it's 2 gold, 4 commodities, and 6 raw materials is how you start the game. So whoever's the first, they'll get the first noble card to bid on. And when you're bidding, you can bid either 0, 1, 2, however many gold you have, but no more or less than what you have. And you can also pass, but if you pass, you're not allowed to enter back into the auction. And so the first person might say, I know this is better than one of these, so I'm gonna bid 0 on it. And then it'd go to the next person clockwise. They might say, I bid 1 or pass. They might pass. And this player might say, I bid 2. Now, one of the things that's interesting about Castle Builder is that everyone has to play with their resources face up on the table. You can't hide your resources. And what this means is during auctions, you can see what other people have. And so in this player's case, he can see that everyone else starts with 2 gold. So if he bids 2 gold now, no one else can bid higher than him and he'll get the card. And so he would get this as one of his free actions. There are always 2 noble cards that are auctioned every round, and the second one would start with the player clockwise from the turn starter. And so they might really want that card as well, and they might just say, I'll take 2 for it, and then they can have it. But they could also pass or bid something less. And after that happens, the 2 noble cards are selected, then we'll go to the peasant card selection phase. And so we'll always go back to the turn starter to figure out who's going to go first. And so they might decide, I want to make more buildings, so I'll grab a collect build card. And so they'll put it in front of them as one of their free actions. This person will pick up a card, they might want some gold. This person might want to build, this person might want to recruit an army. And then we go around until everyone has free cards. So they'll pick up another one. This player will pick up, maybe they'll pick up a research. And then this player will pick up one. Let's say they want some gold. And let's say this player also picks up a gold. There are only 3 actions in a 4-player game for each of these peasant cards. So in a 4-player game, each pile only has 3. And the reason that is so everyone except for one player always has an opportunity to grab one of these cards. And so there's always one less than the amount of players. In a 2-player game, there would only be one of each of these cards. So that if one person grabs the card, the other person wouldn't be able to use it that round. But we would continue clockwise, so he has picked up one, he might pick up one. And because he already has free actions, he'll just pass. And then he already has free actions as well, so they'll pass. And then we'll go to this person. After everyone has their actions, we'll go back to the turn starter, and the turn starter will pick one of their free cards to use. So he might take this with a max usage of free, build free camps with it, with his 6 raw materials. Put that here, and then you get to place free camps here. You're only allowed to build 4 of each building, unless you get an expansion tile, which is these ones right here. But I can explain more about that. So he's hit his limit. I'll explain more about that in a second. Then the next person will pick one to play. They might pick to collect 8 raw materials. And there are also 5s and 1s, so if you want to make it easier, you just switch them out. He'll play an action, he'll play an action, they'll play an action, and this will keep going in order. Everyone will keep laying their cards back because you only get to use these cards once around. And if you bought a noble card through the auction, it's a one-time use, and you can only use it that round. So if you decide to use it or not, you're allowed to not use it. You have to put it into the discard pile. He might play another one, he'll play, and he'll play. And after everyone plays their cards, then we'll move the turn starter to the next person clockwise, and this goes up. And then we do the whole thing again. And that happens 10 times, and whoever builds a castle section in that amount of time wins the game. So let's get more into the cards to see what those are. The most basic card is called a collect card. And so this one's a collect raw materials card. So this one's collect 1 raw material for every camp. So this player here, which has 4 camps, if he used this card, he would get to pick up 4 raw materials now. There are also the other collects. So one is for commodities and one is for gold, and they have the same effects. So collect 1 for every 1 shop you own, and collect 1 gold for every 1 mint you own. And so these are the basic actions that you'll use throughout the game. And the resources all have different functions, but one of the reasons why this game is pretty special is that there are many different paths that can get you to winning the game, and pursuing any one of these resources can get you there. So for the raw materials, the most basic things that they're used for are for building. So you can build other buildings in the town in order to get you more resources, or you can build castle sections with 25 raw materials. At the bottom of each card, they'll tell you how many times you can use it. And so if you wanted to build 2 castle sections, you'd have to actually grab 2 of these cards in the same turn, given, so long as you have the resources to provide for it. And same with this one. This one says max usage free, so you'd be able to build up to 3 different buildings in one play. So that's raw materials. The next resource that is useful is the commodity. Now this one, the main uses are for research and expanding. So I mentioned it briefly before, but you're only allowed to have 4 buildings at a time, but the second you use an expand, you're allowed to have an additional 4, okay? This iteration shows 5 because this is an earlier version than I'm showing you, but you'd basically get an additional 4 buildings. And if you bought one of these expansion tiles, then you wouldn't have to assign it until you want to build more than 4. And so if I wanted to build a 5th camp right now, I would just place this next to the 4 camps I already own, and I get an additional 4 that I can have. So that's the first function. The second function is these researchers. So this card is a max usage of 2. And so you could do this up to twice if you had 8 commodities. And what science cards do, science cards are special cards that are basically like rolling dice, so to speak. In this deck, this is where all the science cards are. And exactly 50% of the deck is composed of these heavy masonry cards. Now these cards, these science cards are special in that they're the only card that you can kind of conceal from the rest of the group. And so when this person researched, they could have their 2 cards face down. You would have to let people know how many cards you have, but you don't have to show them what they are. So again, 50% of the deck is these. And when you're playing, as soon as you get 3 of these cards, you have to show them off at the same time, and you immediately get a castle section. So in addition to using your raw materials, you can get them through doing research. And after you basically get 3, you immediately have to play them. And anytime you use science cards, you'll put them in a discard pile right here. Okay? Some other things that are in here. So there are other things, including this needs to be shuffled a little bit. Sometimes you'll see these cards, like a printing press, a mass smelting, or even let me see, steel tools, for example. These ones, if you get these cards, you are allowed to play it face up, and basically whenever someone uses like a collect raw materials card, you would get 1 automatically from the bank, and you get to put it into your pile. The same with the printing press for commodities, and the same with the mass melting with gold. These ones can be an alternative way to get some more resources. But in addition to those, there are some other things like reinforcements, which I'll explain in a second. There are improved roads. You can basically read off what they do, but there's a whole bunch of different things, like even this one, sea trading, which would allow you to do an exchange 2 commodities to 1 gold at any time during the game. These can really help give you an edge, but like I was saying before, the game's designed so that you don't have to follow one particular strategy to win the game. But so half the deck is made up of the heavy masonry cards, and then everything else is they're free of every other card. So that's how the deck is made up. Again, I'll go back to reinforcements in a sec, so I'll leave that right here. So gold. The main reason gold is valuable is, well, there are a few reasons, to be honest. The first one is the gold is what you use for your auctioning at the start of every turn. So you would be able to control the more expensive, the more valuable noble cards if you have more gold. In addition, you can spend 12 gold to build a castle section. That's another quick way to build castle sections. But also, there are these 2 exchange cards that you can use at any time. These are some of the peasant cards. And these ones, you can basically convert resources at any rate. And gold is valuable because it's the most expensive of the resources, and it can help you get other ones if you are in a bind. But the last thing that gold is useful for is for recruiting armies. So the way armies work is they're denoted by these tiny little tokens here. And you can see here there are a few turns that have special actions that happen. The first one is the collect action. When we hit the start of the 3rd turn, the 5th turn, the 8th turn, you basically get to collect. And let me let you see this up close. So at the start of the 3rd turn, the 5th turn, and the 8th turn, you get to collect basically 1 resource for every one of your buildings that you own. So going back to this town, since they have 4 camps, they get 4 raw materials. They have 1 shop, would get 1 commodity, and 1 mint would give them 1 gold. And so this would be applied for everyone, and it'd just be bonus materials that you get at the start of the turn. Also, there are these battles. And so this is where these armies are important. At the start of a battle, whoever is the turn starter, so let's say the turn starter goes to this person, they say, I will declare X amount of armies. So they don't have any armies, so they'd say, I declare 0. Then it'd go clockwise. I declare 1, I declare 0, I declare 0. Whoever wins a battle, they get to steal resources from everyone else, and it's based on the difference in armies they have versus their opponents. So this player doesn't have any armies, and this player has 1 army. So the difference is 1, so this player would get to steal 1 resource from that player of their choice. So they might want a commodity, and they get to do the same thing with them, and the same thing with this player. The reason why you have to go in order declaring is because a few of these science cards have the reinforcements. These are a one-time use, but what you could do is you can play this on your turn to basically add a momentary strength bonus to yours. So this person might say, I declare 0, I declare 1. This person, the reason why it has to go in order is they might not want to use this. If they were already ahead, like if these players were already ahead, they might not want to use it. But for this person, if they said, I declare 2 armies, then they would actually be the winners because they have 2. This would go in the discard pile, and they get to steal 1 from this player because it's a difference of 1, 2 from this player, and 2 from that player. Okay? In a 2-person game, it's a little bit different in that you get to take 2 resources versus 1 resource for every army difference you have. That's the only difference in the roles between the 2-player and the 3-player and 4-player. And so that's how armies work. And another good thing about if you have a lot of armies and you're able to take from other players, you can notice that this person just got some of the gold from the other players. You immediately have a noble card auction afterwards, and this person's way more equipped gold-wise to basically take control of the other noble cards. And again, the point of the game is to create these castles, and the first person to 5 castle sections wins the game. The ones you see here are oversized. These are the coasters that are going to be in the Kickstarter campaign, but these are fun to use in lieu of the smaller castle sections. But 5 of these will win the game, and you have many different paths through here, through research, or just trying to steal other people's resources. This game is unique in a few ways. Most notably, this game, when designed, was designed to be equally fun as a duel, a 2-player game, in addition to a 3 or 4-person game. One of the challenging things with board games today is you'll see that they oftentimes will say that they're able to be played with 2 players, but when you play the 2-player version, it's not nearly as fun as a 3-player or a 4-person game. And oftentimes the rules are just different. This game was specifically designed for any type of group, for couples, for a group of 4, but to make it so that the gameplay isn't being hindered by the amount of players you have. Another reason why this game is really cool is this game is designed kind of like a lot of European-style games that are being developed right now, in which they don't have ganging up as an option. I mean, some of the most noteworthy games with ganging up, you can think of Risk or Monopoly. Sometimes you feel like you are out of the game before you even start because other players might have a vendetta out against you, or maybe you're doing well and everyone turns against you and you lose. That can be very frustrating. So this game is designed in a way that you only have indirect interactions with the other players, such that you have to kind of balance what the other people are doing, but you can never directly attack someone with another person. It all is a very indirect way. Another reason why this game is really good is for the amount of complexity that this game offers and for the amount of strategy that this game offers, is a very quick game. Games usually run about 45 minutes long for a 2-person game, and as much as an hour and a half for the 4-person game. Now, of course, your first game, when you get to know the game, it's going to take a little bit longer than that, but you can count on it after playing it 3 or 4 times, lasting between 45 minutes to an hour and a half, which is really good because most games with this level of strategy involved, oftentimes they can be 2 hours, 3 hours, or even 4 hours long. Thanks again for taking an interest in Castle Builder. I hope you guys enjoy it just as much as I have enjoyed it with the designing and also just playing it over and over. If thank you guys for all the support through this process, and please find us at launchpadgames.us or a link to the Kickstarter campaign. Thank you.